Okay, got it.
Oh, yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Baylan Megino, and I am here with Global Dream Makers Leadership Summit for Spring 2022. And we are here with several of our speakers talking about why are we here and what are we doing?
Mm,
Looking at what is happening in the world. We've had months of war in Ukraine. We can't see an end in sight there. We have had shootings of innocent children, um, just tragedy everywhere. And what are we doing about it? Right? What are we doing about it? So why are we here? Why are we as speakers here wanting to share our messages of our positive messages for life, of possibilities, of light, and how to navigate times exactly like this? Like, what do we do in times of change when, you thought there was going to be a solid footing under you and all of a sudden it ain't there. It's
mm,
not, because the world is not working like it used to. And so we have a lot to share with you throughout the summit, talking about many different aspects of how you can be a leader in this new time, in this time of transformation and change. So thank you for coming. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being part of the summit. You know, we can't just do the one side of speaking. We need somebody to listen. And
mm.
whether you're listening live or you're listening on the replay or you're listening years or even decades later, these messages come to you at the perfect time for you, the perfect time for you. So we're here, and I want to open the floor. We have Carolyn C.J. Jones here. Hi, Carolyn. Yeah, and we have Angela Lee over in Taos, New Mexico. We have Jackie Zaccoli. Hey, Jackie's out in Phoenix, right, Jackie?
Close enough.
Yeah.
It's Santan Valley.
Oh, okay. And Carolyn is up in Nevada, the North Bay, and I'm in the East Bay, in San Francisco Bay Area. And we may have other people come join us. We'll see. But what do you guys have to say? What do you want to share with everybody? Your thoughts about where are we? What can we do right now? I mean, everything is right now. These the shootings just happened a
Mhm.
day and a half ago. Very raw still. And so uh,
It,
I think everybody's just stopped. So I don't think it's important for us to stop. I think we should continue, but be mindful. Be mindful of what we're doing and how we're doing it. So Angela, you were about to say.
oh, just your opening made me think of the Tubbs wildfire. um, because the night of that fire, we evacuated.
Mm,
And I remember sometime over the next couple of days, as we found out that our home was destroyed, we found out we had nothing left. I felt like the rug had been pulled out from under my life. My entire life collapsed. And all I had was my relationship, which you know how that wasn't serving me. But there is something in that about learning how to navigate when your world has collapsed. And I don't have any wise things to say about that. I know that I personally went into a dark night of the soul where I questioned my existence. I questioned my meaning, my purpose. And perhaps this is a little bit of light, because what happened as a result of that questioning is that I made drastic changes and I pursued my dream. So sometimes crisis can be something that fuels you rather than an anchor that weighs you down. And it really is how you perceive your circumstances that make the difference.
Mm-hmm.
I completely agree because what do they say? When people give witness about something that they saw, 5 people will see the exact same thing,
Yes.
but they have very different descriptions,
Yeah.
right? It's not only what do you expect to see, but what are your mental filters about what's even possible to see?
Ooh, mental filters are a big deal. Yeah. We are handed filters by people who love us. It's not, they're not trying to hurt us, but they have their own way of looking at the world. And they hand that perspective to us as children. And because we're children, we don't consider that maybe we have a different perspective, but we just take their perspective and make it ours.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only as adults that we realize that, oh yeah, no, that one doesn't work. Excuse me, that one doesn't work for me. So questioning your perspectives and how you arrived at them can be a very valuable tool for moving through this world.
What do
Point.
you think, Jackie? Or no, I'm sorry. Go ahead, CJ.
Oh, I was just saying, good point. I agree.
It's a little hard for me to formulate because my mind's going 100 miles an hour, trying to figure out some of this. And you're right. If you look at this entire thing, the perspective everyone has will be different.
Mhm.
No matter how you look at it. It's the same game as if you play the game telephone, when CG and I were young enough to be able to remember that game. And by the time it got to the end of the circle, it was a whole different text or a whole different word or whatever. And yes, however, even realizing that we cannot base everything on the fact that all of it's different. We have to go by what we know and our perspective and either act upon it or don't. I mean, those are the choices. And I know that one of the, I guess it's very personalized. The thing that gets me through most of it is that I know we are evolving as a society. No matter how you look at it, we are evolving so that we will get through this and come out on the other side in a much more positive way. I know that, I can feel it. So the evolving helps me through that. And the other thing I realize, and I've seen it many times in my lifetime, is that it appears the more of a trauma that happens, the more good people come forward that we didn't even realize were there. Look at 9/11. The world turned upside down when we had that. Our world in the United States, a lot of good people came forward that never would have said a word. And I'm sure that there are millions that are coming forward because of the attempt at World War III. And I know that this bullet thing, this killing, will bring another rafter of people coming forward that just have had enough. So am I a part of that change? I don't know. I'm not sure if my perspective can be illuminated to the point of making any kind of a change. I can support those that are. I'm not one of these that's going to go up and yell and scream.
Mhm.
As you said, all that does is add to the fight. I just haven't figured out exactly a positive refrain, a positive response that would make a difference, a positive difference.
Mm.
That's basically where I am. And the only real thing I could change for sure is both my attitude and my actions in what I do to be an example of what I can see as correct in my world. So that's where I position the good that I see to encourage it and to be able to bring resources to it. So that's the side I play on, instead of trying to change that which is much larger than I am, other than supporting that which is good. That's all, folks.
Some of us
Quite a
are-
mouthful.
Yeah. And some of us are crazy enough to want to change it. So, but we need people like you.
Yeah,
You know, I can't change the world on my own.
We
And
all
there,
help the world one person at a time.
yeah.
yeah.
Part at
And
a
there's so
time.
many positive and beautiful people out there that are willing to put in whatever effort literally in their lives can be done. They just need to have guidance as to be able to do that and to know how to do that. So that's where I play, more than anywhere else, is to be able to be able to give them a sane look, and possibly then know that they have the ability to do that, and that they can change what's happening around them.
Well, you know,
So,
sometimes it's just helping them see that there are other possibilities. You know, but quite often people get entrenched in a particular way of thinking or just feeling like they're so deep in the hole that there is nowhere else to
choice.
go. You know, they have no choice. Exactly, Angela. And helping them to see that they do have choices, that they are actually capable of being loved and cared for, even if it's just words of respect, to be talking to a person with respect. People, I mean, you know, our words are so powerful. We use them so flippantly, and, you know, something that you say doesn't mean much to you, but it may mean a world to somebody else. How to take it. And so to be mindful of, be aware of, you know, what are the words we're using. And even more than that, it's what is it? What is the energy behind the word that I'm saying?
Mhm.
I mean, that was when that was one thing I learned a long time ago. It was called feel speak. Feel the word as you're speaking it, and it will have more impact. Right? Use your breath to create your pauses, or, you know, things like that. But our words have impact on people. It could change a life. You know, something that does not seem relevant at all. You might catch somebody at just the opportune time for them to go either right or left, and that's how that's changed their life. You just don't know. So we create our worlds and we create other people's experiences with our words. What are the words we're using with each other? Are they words that are helping us to build each other up, to elevate each other, to at least witness someone's humanity.
Mm.
You know, there's so much pain out there, and we can do, even with a couple words, we could help ease that, open the light. Yeah.
And I would like to add, the words and thoughts we use on ourselves.
Yes.
One of the things that this shooting really broke my heart. The shooter, and this is just my sense, I don't have any news about him, but my sense is he didn't know love. And he had no self-love. Because no one with self-love will choose purposefully to hurt someone else. No one who knows emotional management would plan and plot and take action in that way. And this is why it hurt me. The pain, the suffering of the parents, the pain, the suffering of the children. And my mission is to uplift and empower parents and children and teach them about self-love and unconditional love and the power of unconditional love. And what this world needs more than anything is unconditional love.
That's so very true, Angela. We need more unconditional love.
Thank you, CJ. I would love to hear from you about forgiveness, because that's going to be such a powerful talk for everyone in Uvalde, Texas.
Yes, yes. Well, I was just sitting here thinking about that, about forgiveness, and how can we get to a point of forgiving and moving forward. And this is a tough situation for forgiveness to happen with. And yet, forgiveness doesn't have anything to do with the other person. It has to do with us and how we see something and how we respond to it. And we can choose to carry the angst with us, or we can let it go with love. It's very difficult in times like these to forgive. And I really salute the people that are able to do that without struggling. I really admire that trait in people. I think that, well, I just think that we've got to get to a place where there is more love shown in this world, and kindness, love and kindness, respect, tolerance. You know, when I teach forgiveness, we go through all of those things, you know, love and tolerance and respect, and for one another as well as for ourselves. And at the end of looking at all these things, that's when forgiveness comes. It comes as a byproduct of learning to see with love and act with love. And in the end, the forgiveness comes, and that's what brings us that wonderful peace and freedom. It's pretty special.
I say
pretty
that
special.
forgiveness is a gift we give ourselves.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
people don't understand that. They think that it's something we give others.
exactly. A lot of people think when they forgive, that means they're condoning what happened. And that's really far from the truth.
Mhm.
We're not condoning what happened, not at all. But we're just able to step back a little bit and pull ourselves out of that situation. And it's a choice we make to hurt and suffer less, even though we're wounded.
Absolutely.
It's the choice we make. That was said by PhD psychologist Fred Luskin, who is a forgiveness expert and world known for his forgiveness work. And I love that definition of his. It just really says a lot.
It does. And when we forgive another, we release the burden of resentment that we are carrying. And that is why it
Exactly.
is a gift for us.
That's right. It's like we let go of all those rocks in our backpack
Mhm.
that we've been carrying around all those years.
Yep.
Or maybe it's only weeks, but we are able to let go of it. And from that, like I said, that's where that great peace comes from, is letting go of our angst and our grudge, our resentment, letting go of it.
Especially if it's something that we've been carrying around for however long that we
Yeah.
didn't know we were carrying around. We were so used to carrying that around, and it was so familiar that we don't know any other way.
That's right. That's a great example and a great point. You know, what got me into forgiveness work was I spent 30 years resentful of my upbringing. So I became a real expert about forgiveness, about resentment. I was very good at it. And then when I discovered forgiveness, it was such a 180 that it was so amazing to feel that difference after all those years of being angry and bitter. And that just melted away.
And you feel lighter.
Much lighter.
Yeah.
Much lighter. And our energy level rises. We have hope. Our hope is realized when we can forgive. We could even forgive those that are not passing the laws that need to be passed. We can think about that as well and put that in our things to do.
So once again, the change starts within.
Always. Always. You know, I think the biggest lesson I learned in all of this for myself was how I used to blame everyone else and everything else for all of my woes. And I've come to realize that I am the one who orchestrated all of that stuff. And when I discovered that, it's like, oh.
Yeah.
And at first I felt embarrassed and ashamed for what I had done. And then were, you know, my feelings and my anger. And then I began to look with curiosity.
Mm.
Now, I wonder why I was angry about that, or I wonder why this, I wonder why that. And with that curiosity, it allowed me to see the world in a whole new light. It changed my attitude being curious. I was recently working with a client who was really resentful about a certain issue, and I raised that point about being curious. And the next time I talked to her, she said that that phrase and that action of being curious had led her to forgiveness.
Mm.
And for her, that was what it took to get there. So she could stop beating herself up and stop beating up everybody else. It's a real blessing to forgive, I think.
You brought up blame. And what you said was very powerful. When after the fire, I left my marriage and I was totally in blame. I had been his victim for 32 years. And it took me months to realize I made the choice to be married to him. I made the choice to stay married. I made the choice to sit there while he screamed at me. I made the choice to be reactive to what he did. And as soon as I started seeing my responsibility, I was out of victim. It's always a choice.
Mhm. Mhm. That's a really good point, Angela, about, you know, seeing yourself as a victim or not seeing yourself as a victim. And as soon as we can own our behavior, you know, it took me years of in sobriety and also recovering from my resentment. It took me years to realize that all those times when I said that everything in my marriage was my husband's fault, that he did this and he did that, suddenly one day it hit me, oh my gosh, Carolyn, look what you were doing. You were doing the same things that you're blaming him for. We often blame others for the things that we're doing to ourselves and others. It's really interesting how that works.
Yeah, it's when you really look at it, we're quite brilliant, aren't we? The way that we draw together the circumstances and the people and the resources and the whoops and oh my gods and all those situations so that we can come through it intact, mostly intact, and maybe a little bit worse for the wear, but so much more enlightened about who we are and what we're capable of
Yes,
if we just look for the lessons. It's a simple thing, but it's not easy.
that's right.
And there are a lot of different ways to look at that. And I remember the story of the woman who the older woman who, you know, there was an accident and somebody was pinned under the car, and she went and she lifted the car so that person could be dragged out. And then she put it down, and you know, after all the adrenaline calmed down, she wondered, oh my gosh, if I'm capable of doing that, what did I not do all of these years?
Oh,
You know, then there was, you know, discrimination, regret, et cetera, but she learned what she was capable of. It's something she didn't know before. So what are we learning about ourselves from whatever situations we're being put through? I mean, Angela, you've spoken about many of the difficulties you've been through. You spoke about them just today. Many, many difficulties that a lot of people are dealing with, especially since we've been locked up at home. And the one thing that people don't talk about a lot is that, you know, yeah, there's the great resignation. Well, there's like a huge number of divorces. Relationships, you know, if you didn't have the tools to be able to get through difficult relations, you might not have gotten through it. So, you know, what is it that is being served to us that we are calling in? What's the order we're calling in now? What's the situation that's going to show us more of who we are? I always tell people, don't pray for strength. do not pray for strength, because you're asking the universe to give you such a situation that you have to pull all the strength that you can.
that's
doesn't
right. We need to be careful what we ask for, because the universe is listening and it provides us with the things that we think about and say. Just like what you were saying, Baylan. It's like, oh, it's pretty funny.
I can tell you just remembered something. I mean, when we look back at things, you know, hindsight, when we look back at all our trials and tribulations, it's like, oh, wow, look what I did. And now I can laugh at it. But when you're
Right.
in the trenches there, oh my gosh, the pain.
That's
The
right.
pain.
That's where
Yeah.
curiosity is so helpful. Away the shame, and it takes away the embarrassment, and it empowers, because we know we can make a change. We know we can recognize it, and then we know we can choose to change it.
And also give yourself grace,
Yes.
because none of us were given tools for emotional management as children. We absorbed what our parents showed us, and that became how we managed our adult lives. Now is a time of much trial for many people. And having resistance to what is only brings you pain.
Yes.
When you think thoughts about pain and loss, you're calling in more pain and loss. And nobody taught us about that either. So, you know, you may catch yourself in a moment filled with resentment. You may catch yourself in a moment thinking about all you've lost. And that's when you take a breath and give yourself grace,
Right.
because you weren't given the tools for this.
Right.
They're available now, and there are teachers who will teach you now.
Right. One of the ways to get there is through the use of gratitude.
Mm.
And you know, gratitude magnifies just like resentment does, because it's like you feel grateful for something and the universe picks up on that. So it strives to bring you further experiences that will bring you gratitude. And so then you're grateful for that experience. And so the universe brings more experiences for which you can be grateful. And pretty soon you have this upward spiraling of gratitude and positivity. It's really beautiful. And it's, for me anyway, I live in that space now. And after that, so many years of being angry and bitter, it's like a blessing. And just to realize that, it's like, I could say, well, look at all that time you wasted. There is that. And I have
But
regrets.
that's
that
not giving yourself grace. Now is
I
it?
don't give myself grace. Yes, yes. Good point.
There's a quote that goes with that that I say every day, and I didn't think about it until just as you mentioned it. May my gratitude change my attitude and thus my accomplishments.
Nice.
Yeah, I have about 10 of them that I say with my little mission statement every day. And that one, gifts from God are extended based upon my acknowledgement of them,
Oh, yes.
is another one. Both of those I really feel strongly about, that gratitude is the entire thing. And I always laugh and I think I wish my kids would remember that, because I give them things and they don't say thank you like I think they should. However, the point is that when when you're grateful for things, you get more. So it's exactly what you're talking about, CJ.
Gratitude is one of the things that brings you to forgiveness, as is compassion. Both gratitude and compassion can lead you to forgiveness.
It's all in understanding, coming to understanding what is happening, and to look and see exactly why was that feeling, why was their action, to try to understand. The same concept of fear, as far as I'm concerned. If you try to understand something, you won't have the fear. So we can eliminate the fear if we try to understand.
Oh, good point.
Yeah,
Nice.
same idea. So it like in the situation right now, let's face it, it's difficult to understand what's happening in our world. But as you said, to be curious, to try to figure out the reasoning and any good that could possibly come from it, which is a real stretch. Though there will be, somehow, there will be change.
Yes, there will be.
Well, I think if we focus on each other's humanity, then it's easier to figure out, well, how can we help each other? How can we support each other? How can we stand together, or even side by side or back to back, but standing together? You know, as humans who are here on this planet, we have to coexist. We have to coexist. This stuff about the violence and that horrible spiral, it doesn't help us in any way. The only thing it does is it makes us really understand how precious life is. It helps us understand We don't have a guarantee of tomorrow. We don't have a guarantee of the next breath or the next hour. So what are we doing with the time that we have here? Right? I think every single one of our speakers has made a decision to make positive difference with whatever it is that they're focusing on in their work. If everybody on the planet made a decision to do something that they like to do and then did it, can you imagine how different the world would be?
Might be. I think you'd have a lot of less frustration from people.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I was
Hey,
on,
I'm
I was
sorry.
on a panel and I talked about parents and their expectations
Mm,
and how their expectations can color choices that their children make.
Mhm.
And I ask parents to think, when we envision a Wall Street stockbroker
mm,
and we see this person in a stressful job, their cortisone is high all the time. Their body is completely stressed. They get up at 5 a.m., check the markets, they go to work, they come home at maybe 7 p.m. There's no life for them other than this all-consuming work. And then maybe his brother became what the parents considered a bum. He lives on a beach in Hawaii. He has a shack. He gets up in the morning, he fishes and he surfs. And he has the rest of the day to do good in the world. Who is a success? Who is living a successful life? And
Yeah.
we as parents need to reconsider what we term as success, because I know most parents would point to the stockbroker and say, that kid's the success, not me. I would point to the guy on the beach and say, he's chosen a life that brings him pleasure and gives him time to serve the world.
I couldn't help but think when you were talking about expectations. Expectations are the precursor to resentment. So if we let go of or relax our expectations, we can avoid resentment.
Well, and then there's also agreements, right? Instead of expectations, which are based on a lot of assumptions, which we usually don't, we're not necessarily aware of our own assumptions, and we don't communicate them to the other parties. And so having agreements on what we would like to experience as opposed to agreements on what I expect you to do for me, is a better way to move through life than to have all of these false false pictures that you don't share with people. I mean, that's the funny thing. We expect these things, but we don't say that we expect them. We don't share what it looks like.
That's right.
And that leads to divorces. Lots
Yeah.
of divorces.
Yeah.
Hell, a couple of mine. Yeah. Well, anyway, I think we need to wrap up, ladies. Thank you so much. It's that we could spend all day talking about this one, or even all week, because there's so much that needs to be unraveled here. But thank you for starting the conversation and for starting us thinking about what can we do differently. How could we be different? How can we think differently? And the simple tools of gratitude and appreciation and compassion. Simple tools. Simple tools. Everybody can use them. Any last thoughts?
Don't forget kindness.
Mm.
Thank you, Baylan. This was delightful.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful summit.
And I do want to say thank you, Baylan, and honor you for stepping forward to bring this wisdom into humanity. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Second that.
Well, it wasn't me. I'm gonna have to say, I believe in divine timing. Everybody was meant to be here together, and I was just the one to bring us to say, oh, you, oh, hi, nice to meet you. Oh, I think you'd be great. Come on over to this summit. I've met most of you for the first time. So there's a bigger picture. So that's why this has to happen. This has to occur. This has to happen now. There's a reason why this particular configuration of speakers was brought together. And so our messages are important. I'm looking forward to hearing them all. Thank you.
Thank you, Baylan.
Thank
All
you.
right, everyone. Have a good day. See you in the other rooms.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, CJ. Bye-bye.
Thank you.